Just got another great question. Hey, Richard, you talk about a lot about leadership. You talk a lot about L3. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on how to get rid of toxic leadership or how to deal with toxic leadership. Ooh, where do I begin? That's a great question. Let's go for a walk. So, toxic leadership. Who hasn't seen this before? Here's the thing. I think this is a two-step process. So when we talk about toxic leadership, let's just talk about toxic people in general, okay? Because it can be many forms. The first way you approach this subject, and anybody that's being difficult like this, is I think it starts with emotional intelligence, right? You have to have the emotional intelligence capacity to handle the negativity, the comments, the phrases, everything that comes along with that toxicity. And so how do we do that? Here's a great example of what I'm talking about. Say you have an employee in the office and they love to come over and start talking negative. They're gossiping about employee John Smith. They're talking about, can you believe that this person's even in this position? They don't know what the hell they're doing. All this, just nonsense. Here's how I deal with that. First of all, I don't take the bait. I don't respond. I just listen. But also at the same time, I think you're smart enough to know where you are and where you stand with that individual yourself now, because rest assured, if they're talking about one person in the office like that, the moment you walk away from that conversation, they're talking about you. So here's how I deal with those kinds of circumstances. I listen all the way to the end, and then when the opportunity presents itself, I just basically say something like this: oh wow, so what are you gonna do about it? And usually that turns into, I'm sorry, excuse me? And I go, yeah, what are you gonna do about it? So that usually produces two results. And the first one is the most common. It's about 99% of them. They just look at me and they understand that, okay, I'm in the wrong place. I'm in foreign territory here. These are not my people. I'm gonna move on. And so then they usually just shut up and they, oh, so how, they quickly change the subject. And then the other side of that is usually, well, they'll challenge it, right? Well, what does that even mean? Or what do you mean? Like, I'm just one person. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, I'm in no position to change things. And then I just say the same thing again. Exactly. So what are you going to do about it? Because now I feel like you're in a position where you can change things. And maybe ultimately it's just about talking to the right people. Maybe you can be put on some kind of committee and you can be a problem solver or something. So if you recognize what I'm doing here, I am definitely taking positive energy and just throwing it right back in their face until ultimately they just shut up and they get away from me. So I don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. None of us have time for that. We don't even have time to sit in a job where we're producing a product for most people that don't really care about us anyway. So, but that's a different subject. So how do we deal though with toxic people in general, aside from the emotional intelligence side of it? So remember when we all had to take biology class and we did the little science experiment where you took a petri dish and you swabbed it with the little Q-tips with good spores, and then you had another petri dish that was swabbed with bad spores, right? Negative spores. And then you had to take a sample from the good, put it in with the bad, and bad with the good, right? And then you put it in the tank, and then you watched it grow and morph into this. The good one turned into this nasty black, looked like a damn beaver pelt or something after like 30 days. And then the good one, or the bad one, actually started to, kind of make a comeback and was ultimately trying to heal itself. That's the same concept. It's the same thing we should be doing in leadership, or even as an employee in the workplace, if you're in a position of managing people. So here's another great example. This is what I will do. If I understand that I have some bad apples on the team, or if I'm working on a project and I got some bad apples in this project team, I will take a few of those out and leave one there. And then let's just say two. I'll take 2 of the 3 out, and I'll take 2 of my better ones, and I'll implant them into the bad sample. And what you're going to see is that is going to transform and sort of morph into a more positive project and a more positive attitude with the team. The other side of that usually works out, but like for instance, if you can't change it from that perspective, then usually what you'll get is they don't want to, you know, those souls cannot be saved, and they just don't want to be there to begin with. So they're just bitter, they're hateful, and they hold a grudge for some reason. It's not your fault. Don't take it personally. So what that usually happens and results in on the other side is it'll just work itself out, and they'll find another job and they'll move on, because they won't want to be around all that positive energy. And it's not to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, like I said, sometimes people are just in the wrong spot, you know, and they have to find their why. They have to find their way into what it is that they're destined to do, and they're just not resonating at the frequency that they should be. So I hope that makes sense to you, because at the end of the day, what we don't want to do is just have a knee-jerk reaction and just start getting people out and firing them. If we're going to change anything, especially when it comes to change, we're going to change it from within, and we're going to do it the right way, and we're going to give people a chance, and we're going to have opportunities for them to grow and develop and maybe see things from a different perspective. Because I think at the end of the day too is what you, like I just talked about, sometimes people are just in the wrong spot. We got to find them the right spot, and once you find the right spot, you'll recognize it immediately. Their frequency will be elevated to the max. There'll be a lot more smiling. There'll be a lot, you can just tell even in their personal appearance. They dress different, they're high on life, they're having a blast, and their work-life harmony has boosted through the roof. Yeah, so I hope that that makes sense. Fantastic question, by the way. Thank you so much for providing that. This was a joy to talk about. Looking forward to more of those questions. Please hit me up in the comments section. Let's talk about it. Let's engage. Let's get L3 on the board, because that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to change the game. We're trying to get things back to where they should be. And ultimately, that's what this is all about. A positive work-life harmony for us in the workplace, but also to make our careers and our development, our growth moving forward, a positive and better place. All right, you guys. Till next time. See ya.